Greetings, 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 greetings. It is I, your king, King Clifford Jefferson, a Senator Godfrey, the fifth kind Jew, son of folk, ruler of Jerusalem. I'm the reincarnation of King Edgar the Peaceful, which we here at the Third Timothy English Church of England call the King of Peace. I am King Clifford Jefferson, reincarnation of King Edgar the Peaceful, descended down from Godfrey, the fifth kind Jew, son of folk, ruler of Jerusalem. Joining me is Archbishop Belmont from the House of Belmont, and we do this in honor of our ancestors, our forefathers, our heirs, our predecessors, and all those who are trying to get an understanding of what it is that we are called to do. I give honor to my queen, Sister Jordan from the House of Galveston. I give honor to all those mothers, fathers, sisters, uncles, brothers, all those who are born, the unborn, as well as those who are unsane, the same, and all those who are just striving to just understand everything that's we're supposed to know and to know it better. So with that, I digress. I let Archbishop make his entry. I digress.
Greetings, everyone within the Kingdom of England, Empire of Albion, as well as what we call planet Earth. It is I, Archbishop Belmont, from the illustrious noble house of Belmont, and I'd like to go ahead and give honors to our King, Clifford Jefferson, from the Royal House of Plantagenet, as well as our Queen, Lisa Jordan, from the Royal House of Galveston. I'd like to also give honor to our trustees, officers, members, as well as the loyal subjects within the realm. Want to go ahead and give honor to our Heavenly Father as well as our earthly divine mother, who gives us life to be able to sustain these earthly vessels at this moment for us to be able to bring these messages to those of you who need
Breaking up.
this day and time. Um, hold 1 second. Apologize about that.
It's okay, Archbishop.
But once again, I'd like to go ahead and greet you, brothers and sisters, for taking your time out to having making way to hear this revelation once again that our King has the honor to be able to put together for us to be able to take it in to our not only our RNA but in our DNA. So therefore, our cells, our genes can now start vibrating at the frequency they need to. So therefore, we can go through the proper transformation that we need to go through this day and age on planet Albion, which we call planet Earth. I'd like to go ahead and digress and allow our King to continue the introduction. And once again, for those of you who having the opportunity to hear us for the first time, please like, share, subscribe to the channel because for us to get this message out there to the world as a whole, we need you to help us help you. Digress.
Peace. Well said, Archbishop Belmont from the House of Belmont. Greetings, Bishop Search from the House of Search. All right. Even though we know, you're away, you're still home. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a spiritual movement. So we greet you and we bless you and we just pray. You know what I'm saying? That all keep you safe, you know what I'm saying, in your time of being with your family, which is a extended family away from home. Okay, so once again, I want to give honor to all those who are members of the Third Timothy English Church of England. I want to give honor to my Queen, Sister Galveston from the House of Galveston. Don't worry about an hour behind. Don't worry about it, Queen. All right, my Queen, definitely, for she gives me the ability to be able to do this studious work. It is June 11th, 2024, which we know is the Berber year 2974. This is the year of the return of Messiah, according to the Hebrew year, 6,000 year completion, which is actually in the Hebrew year 5784. Okay, we know that they go by the Gregorian calendar, which was created in 1582 by Pope Gregory the 13th. So we know we always say here, he who writes your book sets a timeline. Time never was when we were not. If the life of time begin, the time will definitely come when we will be no more. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about: space and time, and our existence here in that space and time, as well as out of that space and time. We got a lot to cover today. I'm glad Archbishop here to assist me, as well as Bishop Searchy to
Moderate.
moderate on the chat line so that everything will be in accordance with the law. All right. Without further ado, got a lot to cover, so I hope y'all got y'all pencils, papers, and pens, and as well as your coffee, whatever you need. Once again, I just want to give honor to my ancestors for leading me not astray. We know knowledge is infinite. We know knowledge is something that we all should inquire, but there's such thing as right knowledge and the wrong knowledge. You know, right knowledge and the wrong knowledge. And I just give honor to my ancestors and do up our search for right knowledge to get us where we need to be. And that's based upon, as we always talk about here at the Third Community Church of England, engrams. You know what I'm saying? Engrams are the stored memories that affect us by way of being stored in our biophysical, biochemical cell, which operates on what we call chemical potential. You know what I'm saying? Because we know that whether we realize it or not, there's something going on inside ourselves, something going on inside the planet, as well as everything within the planet, outside the planet, as a result of what we call energy. Energy is a message. All right, so we're gonna pretty much continue on off our last lesson. So all those who have viewed the last lesson, this lesson will be even more beautiful. Those who haven't viewed the last lesson, you might have a problem understanding this lesson. Okay, so I'm gonna let Archbishop say a couple more words about the greeting and the reason why we are gathering, because it's very important, as Archbishop said, that we must meet here not just in the physical, but in the spiritual. Okay, we know the spiritual is based upon what we can't see about our makeup of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Whether we're made of mass, matter, volume, or non-mass, i.e., dark matter, or what we call antimatter. All right, these things are very important because we all operate of what we call thought. All right, thought is the key faculty. You know what I'm saying? Based off of our cognitive faculties that operate absent of what we call stimulus, what we call sensory stimuli. Okay, so it's very important, very, very, very important to not take what we say for granted. Because if you go to a lot of platforms, you don't see it displayed like we do it here. You know what I'm saying? We let you make the determination based off what you're feeling here, other than us just narrating something, cutting and pasting it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the beauty about us at the Third English Church of England. I'm not going to hold you too long based upon that focal point, but I'm going to give it off to Archbishop so that way we can get to this marvelous lesson. Archbishop.
Once again, brothers and sisters, like the king says, this information is pretty much is already here. The thing about it is the engrams. You have to have enough of it within you for you to be able to actually be able to put these pieces together regarding tying yourself back to a specific lineage. The reason why a lot of folks don't get this information is because of the mixture of the blood. When the blood has been mixed to the point of, so many different varieties of people in you, you don't be able to get the message as whole as someone who's a little bit more concentrated, so to speak. And when we speak about this, let's say, but for instance, culture. Culture is a way that how we can speak in regards to, people losing an identity because of so many different varieties of different people coming into either a kingdom or a nation, and now you just all mixing together. So now for you to get information to specifically for you, you don't know what is yours because you got too many different varieties of cultures within you. Now, we're not saying anything is wrong with that. The problem is that you won't get or understand what you think is yours because you don't have enough of that solid, concentrated identity or blood within you for you to be able to inherit that info. So that's what's going on now. Now we have the ability to bring it. Why? Because we never really been mixed up. We're the same folks who have been here for a very long time. Yeah. So the information is always here, is always in us. We just had to start resonate at that frequency to get it. And this frequency is authenticity. You know, you have to truly want to be yourself.
Yeah.
So when you truly want to be yourself, you start navigating or gravitating to what is actually yours and what you're supposed to be doing this lifetime. And in this case, us as angels, you know, or English people, English men, English women, we have an obligation to uphold. And that obligation is to bring peace back on this planet. And the reason why we must bring peace back on this planet is so therefore we can have a form of continuity or perpetual life here in existence on which we call planet Albion. So once again, that's why angels come back during the end of an age or the age of the messianic age, which the king just spoke about, to bring or reveal this revelation, which many folks will see as a form called the apocalypse, which is the revealing. And I digress, and we're going to go ahead and get started on this beautiful lesson because this is something that many of us don't know because it's been out of our mind for so long. And there's reasons why. And now with the conscience of the king is back, he's now been able to merge the hemispheres. So to know what happened, why the split took place, you had to know exactly how it was when it was whole. And let's go
Well
ahead and
said,
get started.
Archbishop. Well said. You know what I'm saying? This is why today I was actually listening to gospel music. You know, I don't know if you've ever been in church before, but you know how you feel when you got a good group up there singing, and you know, and out of the spirit, you just get up and start clapping. I've been in that situation before because you know I grew up in the church, and but the frequency that was on in the church as a result of the movement, the emotion, because the energy and motion. But there's a difference between going to church, clapping and singing and enjoying yourself for as a result of consciousness, contrast or versus doing that unconscious. Why you're unconscious? Because the majority of our people are unconscious of why they're actually enjoying themselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's a problem for me because a lot of those people who are in there join themselves unconscious about themselves and going to what they assume they're conscious about because it's just based off some type of stimulation, sensory stimulation. It ain't based off being conscious, a cognitive faculty. You know what I'm saying? But when we teach you here, the consciousness, cognitive faculty that you are made aware of allows you to now, when you go into those places, to enjoy yourself because your frequency is one. Because it's all about frequency. All right. It's all about motion, energy, and motion. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to a rock band or a Beyonce concert. It all creates an emotion. You know what I'm saying? A rap music. You know what I'm saying? What they call it, trap music. You know what I'm saying? It all creates an emotion.
Promotion,
You know
yep.
what I'm saying? Because of the stimulation, and which creates a signal. You know what I'm saying? To go out there and shoot somebody. Y'all better listen to us. You know what I'm saying? So we want to get to the root of why we suffer from these emotional outbursts. You know what I'm saying? Emotional reactions because it's potential. It hasn't been acted out until the stimulation comes, and then you act out. That's why it's called potential energy. All right? Potential energy, optional energy, chemical energy, atomic energy, molecular energy, because it happens on a molecular level. Okay? It's energy that's being transferred by way of a message, whether it's a good message or a bad message. That's for you to interpret. Okay? Anything else you want to say, Archbishop?
Nope. I think I said enough for the intro. I think now, you know, based off of that, hopefully their ears are open and their eyes are ready to view what's going to be presented to them. Because once again, for you to go to this next level of this planet's frequency, you need to be on the same page as her, and that's is your authentic self.
Okay, well said. All right. And we all know that how we see ourselves as humans, okay, as entities that evolved from some type of process. The question becomes, was the process random or predetermined. Randomability or determinability. All right. Even though it's an evolutionary process, because we know every energy cannot stay still. Energy is constantly moving. You know what I'm saying? From one point to other. You know what I'm saying? But you realize that energy is constantly moving. Without energy, there will be no motion. All right, will be no motion. You know, we know motion determines what we say movement. Motion determines movement. We know movement. We just stood still. What's that? What's the reason for being here? If you just gonna stand still, okay, and do nothing with all that you see. All right. So it's very important to understand the interpretation of this lesson, all right, and how it's being broken down to you. We're going to jump, we're going to skip, but at the same time, while we jump and we skip, we're going to see ourselves outside ourselves, not in the physical, but in the etheric self, because we know that the etheric self is what holds everything together or what keeps everything activated. Energy, you know what I'm saying? So when you view this lesson, don't view yourself as a physical being because there's a time when you were not. You know what I'm saying? Even though this is the outer shell, you know what I'm saying? Like the Earth, Earth has an outer shell called the Earth crust. All right. Like every other planet has an outer shell. You know what I'm saying? We must go into the inner self. All right. Because we know it was from the inner that the outer self grew. You know what I'm saying? We must go internally to the self, not from an abstract or spirit, but a concrete, i.e., cellular understanding. All right. Not just from the cellular, but to a molecular level. All right. But it has to be made simple. It has to be simplified. So if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. So let's do it for Archbishop. It's a good one, y'all. Can you hear me, Archbishop?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just trying to make sure that it's hold on a second. Come on. Power adapter. I'm ready when you are.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Read the first paragraph.
In neo-theosophy, the etheric body or the etheric body, ether body, or ether body is the subtle body. Hold on, let me reread this. In neo-theosophy, the etheric body, ether body, or the ether body is the subtle body propounded in esoteric philosophies as the first or lowest layer in the human energy field or aura. The etheric body is said to be in immediate contact with the physical body, and to sustain it, it connected with the higher bodies. It is also said to consist of a finer substance, more pure and composed of smaller particles than the ordinary matter of the physical plane. See the book Occult Chemistry by C.W. Leadbeater.
All right, that's a reference, but you don't need to use that book. The key point is that, as Archbishop said, the etheric body or ether body or ether body is the subtle body of the lowest layer of the physical plane. All right? Of the physical plane. And it's also said that it consists of a finer substance, more pure, and composed of smaller particles than the ordinary matter of the physical plane. This is called matter, mass, or then it's composed of what we call volume, like everything else that you see on this planet. Something that's solid, okay? Something that's solid, okay? So, as I said, we are Ethereans, all right? Etheric. We already talked about that in my last lesson. So, if you haven't watched that, you need to go back and watch that before you watch this one, okay? Because you're not allowed to cheat. You be watching this one for nothing, okay? So, we understand the difference between etheric beings has to do with what we call antimatter or what we call dark energy versus those who are made of physical matter or what we call baryonic matter or what we call just physical, all right? What we can physically see and touch, all right? Very important. That's not how we here at the Third Temple English Church of England are viewing this lesson, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're not viewing this lesson from that. So those who are adding on with us, you cannot view this lesson from that way. You have to view it from the etheric body, which is still here. You know what I'm saying? It's still here. All right? Which the ordinary matter fills the space of the etheric body. Okay? So your physical body is nothing more than a spaceship. Okay? Something to occupy that space. Earth sits in what we call time and space. And Earth is a part of what we call the solar system, all right, which is a part of the universe. Okay? That's everything that exists in what we call space and time. Okay? You must, I'm telling you, y'all must understand this. All right? That's the reason why this planet was called Earth. Okay? That's the very reason why the planet was called Earth. Those who live on Earth thought it enough to call it Earth because prior to it becoming Earth, the planet was called Ether.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the spelling of the word Earth. You got all the letters: A, E, T, H, R. Aether. Just the E is silent. A, E, T, H, R. Earth is E, A, R, T, H. Make sense, Archbishop?
Makes a lot of sense.
Understand? So we have to understand it on the flip side, not from the state of Earth, because Earth is composed of matter. It's solid. It don't have a spirit. It doesn't have a spirit. Yet it's composed of molecular energy or atomic energy or potential energy. All right. And we know energy is constantly moving. You might not see it, but it's constantly moving. That's the way our planet has formed by potential energy. All right. So, in order for you to understand potential energy and know how this earth evolved, you first must see yourself as energy, not just the energy you are now, but the potential energy that you have to become. Okay? Because this is simply a transmission to the transition of a phase of your existence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We ain't just talking. I'm going to show you in their words. All right? As I said, he who writes your books sets your timeline. Time number one, we were not. They letting you know that we were here before your space and time.
Yep.
How would they know that? How would they understand the concept of space time? Who taught them that? Who taught them about space time? How they know about how old the universe was? 13.787 years ago. How they know how long the creation of the universe was? 4.6 billion years ago? How they know how the first single cell organism 4 billion years ago? How did they know the first multicellular organism was 1.4 billion years ago? How do they know that? We're gonna find out. Greetings, 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 Countess Middleton. All right. So we see the etheric body, ether body, is the most lowest layer of the human energy field or aura. All right. And it's composed of a purer and more composed system of what they call small particles. The ordinary matter doesn't. Okay. The ordinary matter doesn't. So we see it from the etheric body. Let's get some qualification on the etheric people. All right. Not just for based on what we're saying. Let's find a source. Okay. But we know extraterrestrials and the observation of extraterrestrials didn't come out until 1947. Okay. With 1947 in Roswell, Mexico. So let's get a qualification on that because these are the ones who originally created what we call the folklore, the mythology, as well as your religion, as told by somebody else. Okay? I bet you can start from here.
Okay. It says, we'll go to the first, to who we're reading from.
Yes, right here, Lane. This is Med Lane. All right. This is a gentleman who had a career. We start from his career.
Okay. So Mead Lane was the founder and the first director of Borderland Sciences Research Associates. Prior to his public work studying UFOs, Lane was professor at the University of Southern California and English department head at Illinois Wesleyan University in Florida Southern College.
All right.
Etheria. Lane speculated that rather than representing advanced military or extraterrestrial technology, flying saucers were piloted by beings from a parallel dimension, which he called Etheria, and their ether ships were usually invisible but could be seen when their atomic motion became slow enough. He further claimed the Etherians could become stranded on the terrestrial plane when their ether ships malfunctioned, and that the various governments were aware of these incidents and had investigated them. Furthermore, Lane argued that Etherians and their ether ships inspire much of Earth's mythology and religion, but they were truly mortal beings despite having a high level of technological and spiritual advancement. He claimed that their motive in coming to the terrestrial plane of existence was to reveal their accumulated wisdom to humanity. These revelations will be relayed through individuals with sufficiently developed psychic abilities, allowing them to contact the Etherians and communicate with them directly. In particular, he relied extensively on the mediumship of Mark Probert as confirmation of his theories.
All right. So listen to what this man is saying. He said the Etherians who are responsible for the religion and religious and mythological concepts about extraterrestrial, okay? From a physical or super physical or some highly intelligent being, which we know based upon extraterrestrials, the first intelligent being was the prokaryotic cell, right? From understanding the what we call a tree of life, what we call the chain of beings, is when God created the heavens and the earth, it started from a single cell organism. All right, called a prokaryote, and then everything evolved as a result of that prokaryote. As a result, came from the eukaryote, which is the multicellular DNA. Okay, which you call mitochondrial DNA, which every organism on this planet has. Okay, so we have to go back, as I said, we got to go back before space and time, before the universe was created, okay? To see ourselves as the creator, because it says ether permeate space by way of vacuum in which light can travel through. Okay, we talked about in that last lesson. All those who read the last lesson pretty much know what I'm saying. Okay, if you don't, you better go back and check it out, because if you don't know yourselves. All right, this is the reason, as we said, we gather together. All right, this is the reason why we clap and sing. We enjoy ourselves. We come in marching, whether it's an emotional of humbleness, or whether we're coming in as what we call a militant. You know what I'm saying? Whether either way is a result of our understanding or comprehension based off the cognitive faculties, all right, that are discerned either from what we call the transduction. And transduction happens in two ways: through sensory stimuli and conscious stimuli. Okay? Once again, we're going to talk about all that today on where you can see it. You know what I'm saying? From scientific words that they created, and not some words I'm just making up. Scientific words that they use, dealing with the terrestrial plane as well as the astral plane, okay, or the etheric plane. So Archbishop just gave you some sources that you can go to in regards to them knowing who we are as Ethereans. All right, these are your sources.
And point of interest, like they said, the Ethereans, like the king just reiterated, were the ones who pretty much the mythology and religion that all of the people around the world is basing their whole life off of. And once again, from what the king read, in regards to the DNA of who populated the European populations, it was Berbers. It was us. So we're showing you from, like you said, from the science, from the religion, from the law, from every level of existence, who we are, and the people still have a hard time accepting it. And that's when that great day comes, when many people can feel it. You literally can feel it. When it happens, you can't say like, oh, you didn't know. No. Because your forebears, we're here. We're telling you. They're letting you know that the Ethereans was bringing what? They're bringing a high amount of information to humanity so that way you can save yourself. And we're letting you know that you have to save yourself based off of returning to what? To your authentic self.
What it says, rapture. When you talk about rapture, you know what I'm saying? When you see a rapture, you talking about changing and twinkling of an eye. Changing to what? Moving from space and time. Okay? Space, time. You're in the spaceship now.
Exactly.
Okay? Your body is the actual spaceship.
It's a spaceship.
The terrestrial plane, and which is based upon the lifespan of this spacesuit, which is based upon oxygen. When your oxygen run now is over. You know what I'm saying? Contrast to the air breathed by immortals, which is ether. Okay? Which is you're composed of. It's electricity, it's plasma. You know what I'm saying? It's a kinetic energy that's not vibrating. It's just it right here, which you call ethereal. And their ether shifts the physical body. Your body is an ether ship where it's usually invisible.
Slow down.
Atomic motion becomes slow enough. You hear that? Atomic motion is called atomic diffusion, molecular diffusion, or just plain self-diffusion. Okay, which is what we call a phase transition, right? Which is called what they call in science a drunken walk. A drunken walk. You know how they get drunken monkey? You mess with that drunken monkey, see what happens. You know what I'm saying? We drunken monkey right now. And I'm just not making these terms up. I'm going to show you. All right? I'm going to show you. You're going to see that you was here before the creation of this universe, before the creation of the solar system, before the creation of these planets, before the creation of this earth, before the creation of what we call this atmosphere, or what we call the terrestrial sphere. Before we had atmosphere, which is our sustainable life force, it wasn't here. The dinosaurs didn't breathe oxygen. They didn't breathe. I mean, they was bombarded by meteorites coming into the planet. All right, that's what took them out. That meteorites took them out. That's why we didn't have that protection of that atmosphere, because the atmosphere was created by what we call nitrogen and oxygen. Those nitrogen and what we call oxygen, and that's still in the planet. That's in the core of the planet. I'm going to prove it to you. Hydrogen is in the core of our planet. All right, let's prove it. Let's get to it. All right. So once again, let's go back to time immemorial before the planet. Before the planet, I'm gonna jump and skip because we got a lot of stuff to cover. But we started last lesson talking about the universe. So let's go back there. You notice that when we talked about coming on, the clip was said the Berbers in Morocco. And it was in the side of what we call a Pac-Man. Okay? Very important that you understand that. All right? Pac-Man. Now, Pac-Man, matter of fact, let's go to it right quick. So you understand the purpose and intent of the what we call that, the screen. What you call that screen? Why we put
The thumbnail.
Thumbnail. Why we created that thumbnail. Let's see why we created that thumbnail. All right, real quick. Pac-Man. Let's look at the verbiage of the gameplay. The verbiage of the gameplay is very, very important because we're in the maze. Everybody's in the maze. That's where the word athlete, ether comes from. That's why they call it the Olympics, because it was a game, a competition. All right? Survival of the fittest. All right? It's like that in the animal world, just like that for us. Everybody else understand that. It's the survival of the fittest. We are the most fitted for this game. Why? Because we created the game. We created the game. We forgot how to play the game, but we created it. And I'm teaching you how to play it. Know your position in the tree of life. You got to play whatever position that you came in, whatever level, that's the level you got to stay on. Okay? So let's check out this Pac-Man gameplay because you're actually in a digital system right now. Read it for Archbishop.
It says Pac-Man is an action maze chase video game. The player controls the eponymous character through an enclosed maze. The objective of the game is to eat all of the dots placed in the maze while avoiding 4 colored ghosts, Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde, who pursue Pac-Man. When Pac-Man eats all of the dots, the player advances to the next level. Levels are indicated by fruit icons at the bottom of the screen. In between levels are short cutscenes featuring Pac-Man and Blinky in humorous, comical situations. If Pac-Man is caught by a ghost, he loses a life. The game ends when all lives are lost. Each of the 4 ghosts has its own unique artificial intelligence or personality. Blinky gives direct chase to Pac-Man. Pinky and Inky try to position themselves in front of Pac-Man, usually by cornering him, and Clyde switches between chasing Pac-Man and fleeing from him. Placed near the 4 corners of the maze are large flashing energizers or power pellets. When Pac-Man eats one, the ghosts turn blue with a dizzied expression in reverse direction. Pac-Man can eat blue ghosts for bonus points, but when the ghost is eaten, its eyes make their way back to the center box in the maze, where the ghost regenerates and resumes its normal activity. Eating multiple blue ghosts in succession increases their point value. After a certain amount of time, blue-colored ghosts flash white before turning back into their normal forms. Eating a certain number of dots in the level causes a bonus item, usually a fruit, to appear underneath the center box. The item could be eaten for bonus points. To the sides of the maze are 2 warp tunnels, which allow Pac-Man and the ghost to travel to the opposite side of the screen. Ghosts become slower when entering and exiting these tunnels. The game increases in difficulty as the player progresses. The ghosts become faster and the energizer's effect decreases in duration, eventually disappearing entirely. An integer overflow causes the 256th level to load improperly, rendering it impossible to complete.
That means the game shuts down. Okay, you can't go there's no more levels. All right, there's no more levels. We're at the end of the level of the game. Okay, we're in the maze. I'm going to show you because the maze was about attaining what? The information to pass the level. All right, if most of us play the game, lose one a couple times, don't play the game anymore. You know what I'm saying? Go find something else. And the same thing is the game. You know what I'm saying? It's about perfecting the game. I don't care what it is. Everything is about perfectionists. All right? Being good at what you do. Okay? And being good at what you do basically comes from knowing what you do, knowing what to do. All right? Learning the pros and the cons of your actions. Okay? That's what it's all about, knowing the pros and the cons of your actions. Because knowing the pros and the cons of your actions, the end result is going to be you're going to get what you deserve. You're going to get what you deserve. You know that, hey, if I'm going to go out there and rob somebody, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get shot, get killed. All right? Contrast to you going out there to assist somebody, 9 times out of 10, somebody going to either help you or assist you because that's the frequency, that's the vibration, that's the emotion. You know what I'm saying? It's all about energy and motion. All right. So we're talking about this game that was created, and you notice you got 4 ghosts. Okay. Or the four horsemen. We know that ghost represents the dead. Okay. We know that things that are dead don't have life. We know that Pac-Man represents life, right? Because he's being energized every time he eats one of those pellets, right? And every time once he eats one of those pellets, he's able to go against the ghost. Without those pellets, what's happening? He's running from those ghosts, right? He's running from those ghosts. Why is he running from those ghosts? Because those ghosts trying to take him out. All right, trying to take him out. Those pellets that you see in the 4th corner represents the conscious information that we trying to get to. Okay, represents the conscious information that we're trying to get to. Right, to beat the board. Our board is called Earth. All right, we trying to bypass Earth and go to heaven. That was the remedy. That was the gift that was promised for those who learned the game. All right, who completed the game. Completion. If you never complete the game, you must understand that either this Earth was created, you was created by what we call determinability or randomness. Did this mess just happen? If you saying it just happened, that means you don't know.
Right.
All right. If you saying Earth just evolved and you saying it just happened on its own. Determinability means that there was a process predetermined the outcome. Okay? Determining the outcome. We know that the outcome of this planet's evolution is still being determined. All right? Everything just staying the same. It's changing. Why is it changing? Because of the kinetic energy. All right? Kinetic energy, that's why we're the last to know. Soon something happens, what? They're sending out scientists to find out what's going on. Because they are the last to know. Why are you the last to know? Because you forgot. We will always know. Our people knew. But because of that erasing in history, that gap in that and what they call it, the engrams. Because it said the engrams was the memories stored in the biophysical, biochemical cell. Right? But it said it's hazy or fuzzy. Right? Because there's a memory gap in who you were. All right? So you're going to restore that memory, that gap, that chain in that title. That's what we're talking about. So how we do that? Let's go check out Earth.
And the king was speaking about the spelling of Earth. I mean, the first 3 letters is ear, and what you do with your ears, you listen.
It's the auditory faculty. Okay? That's it. I'm glad you said that because the ear is more dependent on them than seeing.
That's why you got 2.
You got 2 of them. You got 2 eyes, but seeing is a faculty of incoming information, as well as hearing is a faculty of incoming information, which is basically our auditory faculty, which works by what we call a sensory stimuli. It's a sensation, emotion, energy creating a stimuli turned to electrical signal, which the brain still has to determine if it's true or not. And my 9 times out of 10, it's not true because it's based upon transduction. We know transduction is converting energy into a stimuli, which creates a signal. All right, that's called brain wave or neural oscillation, contrast to baryonic oscillation. There's a difference. We should be using baryonic oscillation, all right, contrast to neural oscillation, all right? You ain't heard of that word yet, baryonic oscillation, contrast to neural oscillation. And neural oscillation deals with brain waves, which is subject to the 5 faculties: taste, touch, smell, sight, what is the other one? Taste, touch, smell, sight, hearing. Hearing, right? That's 5. Yeah, that's the 5 senses, which are different from conscious cognitive faculties, which proof of awareness can be proven. All right. So let's prove that we were here based off our conscious and cognitive faculties without using the sensory stimuli. Okay, without using that, even though that's what we're using to observe it, but it's going to qualify our conscious and cognitive faculties by being aware, because the physical body can't go back and can't go into outer space, can it? We can't go to outer space right now. The only way we can go to outer space right now is mentally. To mentally go there, okay, and see it with ourselves based off the information that they preserve about what it is that we're trying to see, that we physically can't go there. They saying they went there physically. How the hell you gonna know about the universe? You know what I'm saying? The star systems, the galaxies being created, if you didn't have some way of measurement, all right, which we can prove they have. They can prove these things, all right? So if they can prove them, why not use these things at our disposal? Because all this is concerning the creator. And who is the creator? God. So if you want to know God, then you better know this stuff. Does that make sense, Archbishop?
It makes sense.
If God created the heaven and earth, they tell you that right there in the Hebrew Midrash, the Talmud, and the Zohar. Learn cosmology, the universe, as well as you being a part of it. So you must understand astrobiology. That's what it said. So we're obligated to understand astrobiology. And that's what we're going to learn today. All right? Earth. Can you see that? All right. We know for us, Earth is just a solidified state of a state that just before it was called Earth, which we call it ether. Because we know ether permeates space to put this Earth here. That makes sense, right? Ether created the space to not just put this Earth here, but the 9 planets that we call our solar system, as well as the galaxies, the filaments of the star systems that exist within this universe. All right? Listen, I'm not making this up. Let's just go to it. We're going to hit and miss. Universe first. Read the first paragraph, Archbishop. Universe.
It says, the universe is all of space and time and their contents. It comprises all of existence, any fundamental interaction, physical process, and physical constant, and therefore all forms of energy and matter, and the structures they form from subatomic particles to entire galactic filaments. Space and time, according to prevailing cosmological theory of the Big Bang, emerged together 13.787 billion years ago, and the universe has been expanding ever since. Today, the universe has expanded into an age and size that is physically only in parts observable as the observable universe, which is approximately 93 billion light years in diameter at the present day, whilst the spatial size of any of the entire universe is unknown.
Okay, so the universe created as a result of what we call a gravitational collapse of a star. Okay, you know what I'm saying? That came about 13.787 billion years ago. All right, that's what they said. All right, That's understanding cosmology. That's what you should know. All right? It's there for you to know. All right? And we know that in the universe, there's 68.3% of dark energy,
Energy.
right? It's 26.8% of what we call dark matter, and only 4.9% of baryonic matter, or what they call ordinary matter. Okay? Ordinary matter. Very important for you to understand that. Let's read it. Ordinary baryonic matter, 4.9%. Dark matter, 26.8%. And dark energy, 68.3%. And what shape of the earth is? Flat. Okay? Flat means a disk. When you say flat, that means a disk. Disk, you're saying flat. Flat, you're saying disk. Okay? Now that we got that out the way, we understand that everything concerning space and time is everything subject to what we call space-time, as Archbishop just read. Okay? You must know that as a member of the Third Temple English Church of England. It's a required knowledge that you must know how old the universe is. And how old is it? 13.787 billion years old. Very important. And it's still expanding. Okay? As time progresses, the years progress. All right? Very important. Let's read a little bit more about Earth.
Oh, you mean the universe?
Universe, yeah. Oh, we had the universe, yeah. I'm sorry. We did with that. So we said the universe, as Archbishop said, is composed of all space and time and their content. Very, very important. Their content. Comprised of all existence, any fundamental interaction, physical process, physical constant, and therefore all forms of energy and matter and the structures they form from subatomic particles to entire galactic filaments. Space and time, according to the prevailing cosmological theory of the Big Bang, emerged 13.787 billion years ago. Point blank. You must know that. All right. So since we got that out the way, now let's go to Earth. All right. Because we know that the universe has 68.3% of dark energy, which is called dark matter, which is called antimatter. Okay. Ether, which we are. So if we are, we must know this information because we created this space to put the universe in. Does that make sense, Archbishop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's go to Earth. Read Earth.
Earth is the third planet.
And when we read it, we're trying to go back before and see it how it was prior to it, how it is now. Okay? We want to see Earth before it became to what it is that we see it today. Okay? Before it had an atmosphere. All right? Before there were clouds. All right? We want to see it before that, before it's got its start. All right? In order for it to do this, we must go back in time. And the physical body can't go back in time. All right? So the only thing that can do that is the mind. How the hell they know this then? They didn't have the mental faculty. All this is based off measurement. All right? So somebody must have informed us of this information. All right? It must have been preserved by us that they somehow stumble upon and act like it's just knowledge. Okay, so if Albert Einstein understands special theory of relativity and special theory of relativity and general theory of relativity, then why come he died like every other human being on this planet?
Mm-hmm.
How? If we understood that technology that exists out there in the universe, all right? That just before the universe was created, because we know ether permeates space called vacuum, which is void of space where light can travel to by what we call an interstellar medium. And interstellar medium means space between stars. That's what that means. Space between stars. Okay, so let's read a little bit about Earth. Let's read it, Archbishop.
It says, Earth is the third planet from the sun and the only astronomical object known to harbor life. In this case, advanced biological life forms. This is enabled by Earth being an ocean world, the only one in the solar system sustaining liquid surface water. Almost all of Earth's water is contained in its global ocean, covering 70.8% of Earth's crust.
Stop. Okay. So Earth is a wonder planet because it's the third planet from the sun, and it's the only ocean planet to support life. All right. We don't know if there's other planets out there that's able to support life. We don't even know if there's planets out there that got water on it. We know this one got water on it because what? We on the planet. All right. Mm-hmm. We know that not just us use water, but every other life form use water because it's a water planet, right? And it's said upon the surface of the water. God moved upon the surface of the water. And it says that almost all Earth's water is contained in the global ocean that's over 70.8%. Okay? 70.8%. That's the continent. I mean, that's the oceanic Earth crust that you see. All right? All the water that covers the Earth crust is 70.8% oceanic water. And then the 29.2% is what they call continental Earth crust. All right? Very important that you understand that. All right? The oceanic Earth crust has 70.8% of water, where the continental, which is the landmass that you actually see, has only 20. It has it make up only 29.2%. All right. So it says remaining 29.2 of Earth's crust is land, most of which is located in the form of what we call continental landmass. So it's called continental landmass and oceanic landmass, which means the water, land that's underneath the water. Everybody understand that? And those are subject to what we call the tectonic plates. The tectonic plates that's above the mantle called the lithosphere. Very important because you got the inner core and the outer core. Inner core and outer core. Inner core and outer core is where the lithosphere sits, where you got the Earth's crust called tectonic plates, where are constantly shifting. Why? Because they're moving as a result of kinetic energy. Kinetic energy by what we call force. They're still moving. They ain't going to be stabilized. That makes sense, Archbishop?
Yep, because the planet expanding.
It's expanding. The universe expanding.
Expand, which means
it's going through a transition phase. All right? It's called accretion. It's called accretion. Let's read a little bit more.
It says the remaining 29.2% of Earth's crust is land, most of which is located in the form of continental land masses within Earth's land hemisphere. Most of Earth's land is somewhat humid and covered by vegetation, while large sheets of ice of Earth's polar deserts retain more water than Earth's groundwater, lakes, rivers, and atmospheric water combined. Earth's crust consists of slowly moving tectonic plates, which interact to produce mountain ranges, volcanoes, and earthquakes. Earth has a liquid outer core that generates a magnetosphere capable of deflecting most of the destructive solar winds and cosmic radiation.
All right, that's cool. That's very important. So we see that the Earth is composed of what we call an inner outer core, as well as we call the Earth's crust, which is what we call the lithosphere. Okay, and it says that it's composed of Earth has a liquid outer core. All right, and it says that liquid outer core generates a magnetic sphere capable of deflecting solar winds and cosmic radiation. That's called UV ray lights. But that's within the inner core. All right. Nitrogen and oxygen, where our atmosphere was created, does the same thing, but it's not even in existence as of yet. It didn't come about to the great oxidation, which we're going to talk about today. All right. So we see the transition, the composition, the creation of our Earth. All right. Starting from what we call an accretion, which we ain't even talked about yet. All right. As a result of the collapse solar nebula, which is a molecular cloud, which is nothing more than plasma energy. All right? Plasma energy. We're going to talk about it. We just ain't going to say it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to show you so you can see it for yourself. So once again, you better have your pencils and your pens. This is right here. I'm I'm not just talking. I'm showing you that I know what I'm talking about. Can you agree, Archbishop?
Agreed.
Okay. So we said that the volcanoes and earthquakes. Earth has a liquid core. All right. So let's go check out the Earth liquid core before we move further.
It said Earth's outer core is a fluid layer about 2,260 kilometers, that's 1,400 miles thick, composed of mostly iron and nickel, that lies above Earth's solid inner core and below its mantle. The outer core begins approximately 2,889 kilometers, which is 1,795 miles beneath Earth's surface at the core mantle boundary, and ends 5,150 kilometers, which is 3,200 miles beneath Earth's surface at the inner core boundary.
One second. Okay, all right, cool. All right, so you see the crust, upper mantle, lower mantle, outer core, and inner core. Very important. Let's read a little bit more.
It says the outer core of Earth.
One second. Yes, sir. Right here.
Constraints, accretion. The variety of light elements present in Earth's outer core is constrained in part of Earth's accretion. Namely, the light elements contained must have been abundant during Earth's formation, must be able to partition into liquid iron at low pressures, and must not volatilize and escape during Earth's accretionary process.
Okay, so this is what you see Earth look like before the oceans were created, because we know that Earth was created by what we call accretion. All right, accretion. We know that the planet was created, the Earth was created 4.6 billion years ago, which we're going to talk about now. But we can see a state or a picture of the state of our planet when it was still what we call under what we call magma oceans. Okay, magma oceans was ocean or volcano. All right, look at this planet right here. And we're observing the planet without it actually being on that planet when it was in this state of existence. But yet we got the evidence right here to prove that such a state did exist. Okay? When it was called Earth accretion. All right? Earth accretion. Let's go back.
The Earth has a dynamic atmosphere which sustains Earth's surface conditions and protects it from most meteoroids and UV light entry.
Bishop Searcher, you're absolutely right. Blood banks. Go ahead, Archbishop.
It has a composition of primarily nitrogen and oxygen. Water vapor is widely present in the atmosphere, forming clouds that cover most of the planet. The water vapor acts as a greenhouse gas, and together with other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, particularly carbon dioxide, CO2, creates the conditions for both liquid surface water and water vapor to persist via the capturing of energy from the sun's light. This process maintains the current average current surface temperature, 14.76 degrees Celsius, which is 58.57 degrees Fahrenheit, at which water is liquid under normal atmospheric pressure. Differences in the amount of captured energy between geographic regions, as with the equatorial region receiving more sunlight than the polar regions, drive atmospheric and ocean currents, producing a global climate system with different climate regions and a range of weather phenomena, such as precipitation, allowing components such as nitrogen to cycle.
All right. Now, as we can see, it says right here, it says that the atmosphere is composed of nitrogen and oxygen, right? Oxygen and nitrogen, which helps protect against meteorites and UV ray lights. right? And we know UV ray light is called radiation, all right? And it says that also it assisted in creating what we call a greenhouse effect, which is majority composed of carbon, all right? Carbon. And carbon allows water to exist on the planet by what we call vapor, what you call clouds, which makes up majority of the planet. All right. So it's very important to understand that. So we went from the state of accretion when the Earth started to form by based off the gravitational pull of the Earth some mass object that's pulling on those what we call gas and dust. Because the when the planet collapsed by way of what we call a supernova, it hurled out gas and dust. All right. And I was told the gravitational pull, all that gas and dust came solidified. Heat. It became solidified. All right. Based off the object's gravitational pull, based upon that's how the planet came about and the solar system came about through what we call a solar nebula. Just like the universe came about through what we call a collapsed star. Okay, a collapsed star. And the collapsed star of the universe happened at what time? 13.787 billion years ago. We know that the universe, i.e., the planets consisting of Earth, was created 4.6 billion years ago. All right, based off what they say. All right, let's continue a little bit more on this topic. Right here. Earth, like most other bodies, right there.
Earth, like most other bodies in the solar system, formed 4.5 billion years ago from gas and dust in the early solar system. During the first billion years of Earth's history, the ocean formed and then life developed within it. Life spread globally and has been altering Earth's atmosphere and surface, leading to the Great Oxidation Event 2 billion years ago. Humans emerged 300,000 years ago in Africa and have spread across every continent on have spread across every continent on Earth. Humans depend on Earth's biosphere and natural resources for their survival, but have increasingly impacted the planet's environment.
Stop. Okay. So as we read, either 4.5 or 4.6 billion years ago is where our solar system was created. All right? Is where our solar system was created. We ain't talking about the universe because the universe was created 13.787 billion years ago. All right? Very important to understand that. And that was a result of what we call a gravitational collapse of a star. Okay? That's created what we call space-time, which is what we call universe, everything that exists within what we call space-time or was subject to what we call space-time. Okay? We are subject to what we call space-time. So it said Earth, like most other bodies in the solar system, formed 4 billion years ago from gas and dust in the early solar system. Very important for you to understand that. All right? That brings us here, the age of the Earth. You're having a direct link. I'm showing you. I ain't just talking. I'm showing you right here. So you can see that you were the creators of the Earth, because we know that the Earth, as well as this universe, was created by ether, right? Ether is energy, dark energy, which is what they said, 69.3% of the universe, right? And the universe sits in that ether. It's like an ocean when the planet's swimming. All right, ether is the liquid that the planet swim in. That's what it's called, a big swimming pool. Okay. All right. So the age of the Earth. All right. We already know the age of the universe. What's the age of the Earth? Read it, Archbishop.
The age of Earth is estimated to be 4.54 billion years. The age may represent the age of Earth's accretion or core formation, or of the material from which Earth formed. This dating is based on evidence from radiometric age dating, meteorite material and is consistent with the radiometric ages of the oldest known terrestrial material and lunar samples.
Read that again.
It says the age of Earth is estimated to be 4.54 billion years, 54 billion years old. This age may represent the age of Earth's accretion or core formation, or of the material from which Earth formed. This dating is based on evidence from radiometric age dating of meteorite material and is consistent with the radiometric ages of the oldest known terrestrial material and lunar samples.
Okay, so we know that at this time, when Earth was created, going back to what we call 13.787 billion years ago, it didn't have the Earth's atmosphere in place at this particular time. That's why the Earth was being bombarded by meteorites. Okay, we have to understand that. All right, but it did say that the Earth was composed of the magnetic sphere that protect the Earth from meteorites and what they call ultraviolet rays. All right, but it wasn't to the extent of how it is because Earth was just in the state of evolution. Okay, evolution, far as organisms, didn't exist at this time because we know that when we're dealing with the chain of life, or we call the tree of life, or the chain of being, you got God, which is spirit, which is ether, the creator of all spirit and matter. Okay, we know if God is spirit and spirit is ether, that's antimatter, which we know based upon the universe is 68.9%.
Mm-hmm.
Then he created spirit and matter, which is humans, and that was the last thing he created. Plants, animals, beasts, all that was spirit and matter. All right, we know that God and angels was all spirit, unchangeable. All right, unchangeable contrast to spirit and matter. That means you took on a composition, you took on a form. Okay, you took on the form. The consciousness is still there, and the engram, that's the memory in that biochemical and biophysical self. This is why chemistry is very important. Chemistry. Here's the word ham. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ham. We call it Libya or Berber.
Berbers.
Right? Mm-hmm. But you call it ham. Chemical. All right? Very important. A chemical process. We know they can use it to create solutions, or they can be used to create problems. When you messing with chemical solution. All right? You mess around and blow something up. You know what I'm saying? You can create a potion that can help you, or you can create something that can harm you. Okay? Poison. All right? So it's very important to understand that what they create is poison to our makeup. All right? Their creation of the chemicals in which we're taught is poison to our existence. All right? Because they weren't there when we existed. So we have to understand, as I always say, he who writes your book sets your timeline. We know time is subject to time and space, which is the universe. So we have to go outside of that time and space, i.e. the universe, that they created based off the knowledge that they got from us, because we know that prior to them existing and the universe existing, we already existed as ether.
Mm-hmm.
You hear that? In the etheric body. You hear that? And we created religion and mythology, which hid it, dumbed it down, modified it, okay? Watered it down. Very, very important for you to understand that. So we said Earth, the age of Earth is 4.5 billion years ago, all right? 4.5 billion years ago, and it was created by way of what we call accretion from the core. From the core. It didn't start outside in. It started from inside out. Okay? As a result of what we call spinning. Speed of light, spinning. And it's circular. All right? Let's read it. Dating is based on the evidence of radiometric age dating on meteorites. So you're talking about rocks. You're talking about geology. All right? All right? You're talking about evidence, proof found in a material. All right, we know there's spirit, which is God, and the angel. There's spirit and matter, which is all life forms on the planet, all organisms, and then there's just matter, which is the rocks, the soil, the dirt. Okay, that's material. Okay, it has energy, but it ain't conscious. A rock ain't gonna talk to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Rock can't think. we got to make sense of this, y'all. All right. So we said that the age of the Earth is 4.5 billion years ago, and it represents the age of Earth accretion. Very important. But before we talk about the accretion, let's go into the geological understanding about Earth, because this is where it get real nasty, y'all. It get real nasty here. I don't think they're ready for this, Archbishop. Write that word down, accretion.
Mm-hmm.
Read that, Archbishop.
The geological history of the Earth follows the major geological events in Earth's past based on the geological timescale, a system chronological measurement based on the study of the planet's rock layers, stratigraphy. Earth formed about 4.54 billion years ago by accretion from the solar nebula, a dish-shaped mass of dust and gas left over from the formation of the sun, which also created the rest of the solar system.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? So how old was the solar system? 4.5 billion years ago. All right? It was created by way of accretion with the result leftover material that came along with the sun. All right? It said formation of the sun. So the sun was gone as well as the universe and the solar system. All that grew from another sun that collapsed. All right? Another sun called a white dwarf. And the white dwarf is called what we call a Dyson sphere. You ever heard the term a Dyson sphere? A galactical megastructure.
Mm-hmm.
A galactical megastructure. Okay? Very important to understand what I'm talking about. So the Earth existed 4.5 billion years ago from a solar nebula. A solar nebula is a molecular cloud. A molecular cloud is nothing more than a cloud of what we call energy. Let's read it for yourself. What did that say, Archbishop? 1 second.
It says the solar system began about 4.6 billion years ago with the gravitational collapse of a small part of a giant molecular cloud. Most of the collapsing mass collected in the center, forming the sun, while the rest flattened into a protoplanetary disk out of which the
That's
planet.
good. A protoplanetary disk. All right. So we see right here a solar nebula was a gravitational collapse of a star. I mean, a gravitational collapse. What it said? A gravitational collapse of a small part of a giant molecular cloud, which is nothing more than plasma. And most of the collapsing mass of that molecular cloud that collapsed collected and formed our central sun, along with the rest of the planets, and Earth being a flat disk. Okay, Earth being a flat disk. We must understand that. All right, we must understand that. So, what is the question? A question.
It says in astrophysics, accretion is the accumulation of particles into a massive object by gravitationally attracting more matter, typically gaseous matter, into a accretion disk. Most astronomical objects, such as galaxies, stars, and planets, are formed by accretion process.
Read that again.
It says in astrophysics, accretion is the accumulation of particles into a massive object by gravitationally attracting more matter, typically gaseous matter, into an accretion disk. Most astronomical objects, such as galaxies, stars, and planets, are formed by accretion process.
Okay, so we know that most planets, most galaxies, their firmaments, which are astronomical objects, are formed by way of an accretion disk. All right, which is the result of a collapse. What? Solar nebula, which is a molecular cloud. A molecular cloud. So, what is a molecular cloud? Before we go back to accretion. I didn't go to school to learn this. My ancestors forced me to know this.
A molecular cloud, sometimes called a stellar nursery, if star formation is occurring within, is a type of interstellar cloud, the density and the size of which permit absorption nebulae, the formation of molecules, most commonly molecular hydrogen, H2, and the formation of H2 regions. This is in contrast to other areas of the interstellar medium that contain predominantly ionized gas.
Okay, so molecular cloud is composed of hydrogen, all right? Hydrogen, contrast to what we call interstellar medium, that's predominantly composed of what we call ionized gas, all right? Interstellar medium means space between stars. Everybody needs to understand that. Interstellar medium means space between stars, okay? And non-ionized gas is nothing more than what we call plasma. So we know that accretion was a result of a gravitational collapse of molecular cloud, what they call stellar nursery, which is a star formation which is occurring within the collapse of a molecular cloud or interstellar cloud by way of what we call uh, 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 what we call here. We know that the molecular cloud and the interstellar cloud collapse and it formed what we call our universe. All right. It composed what we call now universe, our solar system and our planets. All right. By way of what we call accretion. Very important because it said the molecular cloud was composed of molecular hydrogen, contrast to that space. That other space was composed predominantly what we call ionized gas. Now, ionized gas is called plasma. Let's look at it. Read that, Archbishop.
Plasma. Plasma is one of the four fundamental states of matter, the other three being solid, liquid, and gas, characterized by the presence of a significant portion of charged particles in any combination of ions or electrons. It is the most abundant form of ordinary matter in the universe, mostly in stars, including the sun, but also dominating the rarefied intracluster medium and intergalactic medium. Plasma can be artificially generated, for example, by heating a neutral gas or subjecting it to a strong electromagnetic field.
Did you hear that? Read that again. I don't think I went right over people's head. Read that again.
It says plasma is one of four fundamental states of matter, the other three being solid, liquid, and gas, characterized by the presence of a significant portion of charged particles in any combination of ions or electrons. It is the most abundant form of ordinary matter in the universe, mostly in stars, including the sun, but also dominating the rarefied intracluster medium and intergalactic medium. Plasma can be artificially generated, for example, by heating a neutral gas or subjecting it to the strong electromagnetic field.
This is called potential energy. And it said that it's most abundant in what we call ordinary matter. We know that the universe has much ordinary matter, 4.9% of ordinary matter, what they call plasma, right? Which is different from a solid, liquid, and gas. And then we know once again, the universe only has what? 4.6% of ordinary matter, which is called baryonic matter. Okay? We know you got baryonic matter, which is baryonic matter, dark matter, and dark energy. And it says that ion is plasma. Okay? Ion is plasma, which is created by what we call accretion, which is the gravitational collapse of a solar nebula, which is a molecular cloud.
Mm-hmm.
All right? It is a molecular cloud. And it said plasma can be artificially generated, for example, by heating a neutral gas or subatomic matter, because we know that under accretion, under the gravitational pull of that central object such as the sun, it says that matter and dust gravitate by the gravitational pull came collected. It came in what they call what is it? We're gonna read it again. So, but it said it collected all the dust and gas. All right, it collected all the dust and gas and formed to what we call a solidified state. Okay, so we know that plasma is different from the normal forms of matter, which is solid, liquid, gas. Okay, and plasma can be artificially generated, for example, by heating a neutral gas or subjecting it to a stronger electromagnetic field. Okay, we know that when you heat something, it causes a change in the chemical makeup. Okay, it starts to change in it. All right, so it's very important. Let's go back to a question. And it says, in astrophysics, accretion is the accumulation of particles into a massive object by gravitationally attracting more matter. Okay? By gravitationally attracting more matter, typically gaseous matter, into a accretion disk. Most astronomical objects, such as galaxies, stars, and planets, are formed by accretion process. All right, and they form what they call accretion disk. All right, accretion disk is a flat disk. Once again, accretion disk is a flat disk. We know that the universe is a flat disk, which is made up of what we call 69% of dark energy, 28% point, what is that? 28% point, what is that? I like to remember 69% 0.3 of dark energy, 29% of 0.8 of dark matter, and 4% 0.9 of baryonic matter or ordinary matter. Okay? Baryonic matter or ordinary matter. And matter is that which takes up volume, space, mass, or matter. Very important that we understand that. All right. So astrophysics, accretion is the accumulation of particles into a massive object by the gravitationally attracting more matter, typically gaseous matter, into an accretion disk. So what is an accretion disk?
An accretion disk is a structure, often a circumstellar disk, formed by diffuse material in orbital motion around a massive central body. The central body is the most frequently a star. Friction, uneven irradiance, magneto, excuse me, magnetohydrodynamic effects and other forces induce instabilities, causing orbiting material in a disk to spiral inward toward the central body. Gravitational and frictional forces compress and raise the temperature of the material, causing the emission of electromagnetic radiation. The frequency range of that radiation depends on the central object's mass. Accretion disks of young stars and protostars radiate in the infrared. Those around.
Hold on, where you at?
Down at the bottom of infrared.
Oh, you can read, boy. All right, go ahead.
Those around neutron stars and black holes in the X-ray part of the spectrum. The study of oscillation modes in the accretion disk is referred to as discal seismology.
All right, you heard the word oscillation. All right, oscillation has to do with the frequency. So we're reading about the accretion disk, all right? And the accretion disk resulted from the accretion, and the accretion is the accumulation based upon gravitational of gaseous matter, all right? Attracting more gaseous matter and coming to a solidified state. Okay, that's what they call accretion, and it forms to what they call a disk. All right, and the accretion disk is a structure, often circumstellar disk, formed by diffuse material. You hear that? Diffuse material. Now we talked about that word diffusion. Okay, diffusion of some material. What material? That gaseous matter. Okay, diffusion of that gaseous matter. It's very important that you understand what's being said to you. Because we're not only talking about the universe creation, but the creation of the solar system. Okay, with its planets, right? You must know its creation and who created it. And we know what created it is not a him. All right, it's an it, ether. It's energy. All right. And we are a part of that energy. All right. We didn't have names. We was a part of the collective. All right. So we understand that as a result of the accretion, which was the accumulation of matter, gaseous matter, and forming a solidified state around that central sun. All right, which came about through accretion as a result of the supernova, which was the gravitational collapse of another star, which created our new sun. Okay, and our solar system, very important, which was started from what we call a flat shaped disk because it was consistent of a gaseous matter. There was no mass yet. There was no solidified state yet. But there's about to be now. Why? Let's get to it. So accretion and the accretion disk is what they call it's called planetesimal. All right? It's called planetesimal based upon diffuse material. Diffuse material. What formed that circumstellar disk by way of accretion was based upon diffuse material. Okay, let's look at the this example. We know a black hole, right? A black hole is a result of what we call a gravitational collapse of a star. Okay, which all things made of matter are subject to. All right, you got the black hole, photon ring, image of the disk far side, Doppler bearing, accretion disk. You see it? Accretion disk, image of the disk underside. Okay, so we see when you're dealing with the accretion is the gravitational accumulation of gaseous matter. Gaseous matter, which we know is energy. Okay, when we looked at the Earth's creation, formation 4.6 billion years ago, when it accumulated into that form that it took, it was nothing more than a solid rock of massive oceanic flow. Okay, massive ball of what we call fire and rock. Let's look at it again. When Earth had a liquid outer core. Let's look at it again.
Earth's outer core.
Hold on, don't read. I just want to show them the picture. Y'all see that picture? That's what we're looking at. All right? Ain't no life existing right now. That's nothing but heat, gas, dust coming and forming by what we call accretion. All right? Into what they call accretion disk, which is what we call a phase transition by what we call atomic diffusion. Atomic diffusion, molecular diffusion, or self-diffusion, which is a change or concentration of the gradient from the above, from the level that is at to somewhere else, which is caused by what we call potential energy, kinetic energy, or chemical potential. The potential of chemical energy. Very important to understand what I'm talking about because you better know it. You better know it. Let's go back to it. Where was we at? Where is that? Accretion disk. And we said accretion disk resulted from diffusion of material. Diffusion of material. All right there. What is diffusion of material? Because accretion disk is a structure of circumstellar disk formed by diffused material. What is diffused material? I'm not just talking. When I say something, I'm going to look it up before I say it. All right? And understand what I'm looking up before I say it. Because I might get questioned on what I'm saying of what I looked up. And if I can't interpret what I'm saying or what I looked up by a question asked by somebody who's trying to understand what I'm saying based upon what I looked up and my interpretation of it, I better know what the hell's going on. All right, I better know what's going on. So what is diffused material? Let's look at it. It's called diffuse reflection. Same thing. We've diffused reflection. Let's look at it.
All right. Diffuse reflection is the reflection of light or other waves or particles from a surface such as that of a ray incident on the surface is scattered at many angles rather than at just one angle, as in the case of specular reflection. An idle diffuse reflecting surface is said to exhibit Lambertian reflection, meaning that there is equal luminance when viewed from all directions, lying in the half space adjacent to the surface.
Okay, so diffused reflection of diffused material is a reflection of light or other waves or particles from a surface such that a ray incident on the surface is scattered at many angles rather than at just one angle, as in the case of specular reflection. Okay, this is all a part of what we call diffusion on the molecular level, atomic level, cellular level. It all denotes to a change in the concentration of a gradient. Very important for you to understand that. So look at the word diffuse, because we know what reflection means, to reflect. So look at the word diffusion based upon how accretion just came about, i.e. our planet. Because we know that the planet, which is the form of accretion disk, came about by the way of accretion. And accretion is a result from the gravitational collection of gaseous matter forming into what they call a solidified state. All right, a solidified state. A changing solidified state. Okay, so what is diffusion? We talked about this in our last lesson. Diffusion.
Diffusion is the net movement of anything, for example, atoms, ions, molecules, energy, generally from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Diffusion is driven by a gradient in Gibbs free energy or chemical potential.
Stop. Read that again.
It says diffusion is the net movement of anything, for example, atoms, ions, molecules, energy generally from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Diffusion is driven by a gradient in Gibbs free energy or chemical potential.
Okay, so diffusion is a change in the movement of anything. All right. In order for you to move something, it takes energy. Right. And it says the movement of atoms, ions, molecules, which are composed of energy. All right. From a higher concentration to a lower concentration. All right. And diffusion is driven by a gradient of changing the concentration of the gradient or chemical potential. All right. It's very important for y'all to understand. Do you understand what's going on so far, Bishop?
I understand.
Okay. Diffusion. Let's look at the concept of diffusion.
The concept of diffusion is widely used in many fields, including physics, particle diffusion, chemistry, biology, sociology, economics, statistics, data science, and finance. Diffusion of people, ideas, data, and price values. The central ideal of diffusion, however, is common to all of these. A substance or a collection undergoing diffusion spreads out from a point or location in which there is a higher concentration of that substance or collection.
Okay. So we understand diffusion, which you can associate it with many topics. Well, we're associating with the chemical potential. A chemical potential, because a chemical potential based off diffusion of what we call a concentration of either molecules, ions, atoms, which is also energy. And we know that ions is made of was what we had the molecular cloud. A molecular cloud is what we call electromagnetic energy. All right, which is one of the uh, um, phases of a state. Okay, one of the phases of a state, because we know the phases of a state is called a transition. Okay, of diffusion from one state to another, because it said diffusion is a net movement of anything. For example, atoms, ions, molecules, energy, generally from a higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. That means that there's movement from one place to another. And we're talking about energy, molecules, ions, and atoms. So we're being specific. All right? We're being specific about the diffusion because we know that the diffusion was a result of some material. And what material were they talking about? They were talking about molecules, ions, and atoms. Weren't they, Archbishop?
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about accretion, right? We know accretion is a gravitation, is the collection of all matter, gaseous matter, into what? Let's read it again. I question this. All right. A crescent disk is a structure, often a circumstellar disk, formed by diffuse material. Okay? Formed by diffuse material. We know diffusion material is based upon diffuse reflection. And diffuse reflection is a change of molecules, ions, what is it? Molecules, ions, atoms, which is energy from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Okay? We know that the lowest concentration from ether is what? Solid.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it goes from ether, energy, which is plasma, to a gas, to a liquid, to a solid, back to the original state that it came from. Okay? Which was ether. All right? Ether that doesn't have mass, doesn't have volume, doesn't have a matter. It's called antimatter or dark matter. Okay? So he said the question is a structure often circumstellar formed by diffused material. We know diffusion is a change from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. All right? Higher concentration to a lower concentration, which brings forth what they call chemical potential. Chemical potential. So what is chemical potential? Y'all better listen to what I'm talking about. I ain't just talking to be talking. Read this, Archbishop.
Chemical potential. In thermodynamics, the chemical potential of a species is the energy that can be absorbed or released due to a change of the particle number of the given species. Example, in a chemical reaction or phase transition. The chemical potential of a species in mixtures is defined as the rate of change of free energy of a thermodynamic system with respect to the change in the number of atoms or molecules of the species that are added to the system. Thus, it is the partial derivative of the free energy with respect to the amount of species, all other species concentrations in the mixture remaining constant.
Okay. So in thermodynamics, the chemical potential of a species is the energy that can be absorbed or released due to changes in the particles numbers of a given species as a result of chemical reaction or phase transition. A phase transition. What is a phase transition? Because we got to know what they're talking about, right? We have to know what they're talking about based upon the chemical reaction. Because the chemical reaction is the chemical potential, right? It's a chemical potential. That's what it said, the chemical potential. All right. So phase transition, let's look at what that says.
In chemistry, thermodynamics, and other related fields like physics and biology, a phase transition or phase change is the physical process of transition between one state of a medium and another. Commonly, the term is used to refer to changes among the basic states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas, in rare cases, plasma.
I just said that. Didn't I just say that?
Mm-hmm.
I just said that. That's what they said. Plasma or ionic gas is different from solid, liquid, and gas. It's an ether, which is plasma. Plasma is ether. Ether is a plasma because it's energy. Okay, it's energy. Read it, Archbishop. Read it again.
It says in chemistry, thermodynamics, and other related fields like physics and biology, a phase transition or phase change is the physical process of transition between one state of a medium and another. Commonly, the term is used to refer to changes amongst the basic states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas, and in rare cases, plasma.
Okay, so that phase transition represents the change in states of existence. All right, of states of existence, and we know that's determined by the energy, which is nothing more than the makeup of its composition of the organism. The organism's composition, which is based upon the atoms that's composed of. All right, atoms, molecules, ions. All right, so it says phase transition or phase change is a physical process by either chemical, biological, what it says, biophysical or biochemical. It results in a phase transition or a phase change in the physical process of transition between one state of a medium and another. We know a medium means space between. Medium, space. All right, you need a medium. All right. So we said it says between states of matter, solid, liquid, gas. This is what we call what they call it a random walk, right? You're actually your transition is called a random walk, right? Because you're not walking this walk. You know what I'm saying? It's a random walk that the physical makeup is walking without you even knowing that it's called a random walk or a drunken walk, because a person who's drunk are not conscious of their state of mind, all right, or their actions, all right. So that's why it's called a random walk or a drunken walk. Let's see. Okay, let's go back to diffusion. All right, we know diffusion resulted from what we call diffused reflection of that material that was being diffused. We know diffuse is a change from a higher concentration to a lower concentration of energy composed of molecules, atoms, or ions. Okay, and ion gases are what we call plasma. And we know plasma is what we call energy. Okay, energy. All right, start from here, Archbishop. You there, Archbishop?
Yeah, it says a
Start from here.
gradient is the change in value of a quantity, for example, concentration, pressure, or temperature with a change in another variable, usually distance. A change in concentration over a distance is called a concentration gradient. A change in pressure over a distance is called a pressure gradient. And a change in temperature over a distance is called a temperature gradient. The word diffusion derives from the Latin word diffundere, which means to spread out. A distinguishing feature of a diffusion is that it depends on particle random walk and results in mixing or mass transport without requiring directed bulk motion.
Read that again.
A distinguishing feature of diffusion is that it depends on particle random walk, and it results in mixing or mass transport without requiring directed bulk motion.
Okay, we understand that the accretion disk was a result of what we call diffused material. And diffused material is based off what we call diffused reflective. And we know diffusion is a change of a concentration of gradient. And we know gradient means what it said on the distance. All right. Well, let's just read that again. Where did I go there? It's a change concentration over distance is called a concentration gradient. A change in pressure over distance is called a pressure gradient, and a change in temperature over distance is called temperature gradient. Okay, and the word diffusion derived from Latin word diffundere, which means to spread out. All right, and distinguishing the features of diffusion depends upon a particle's random walk. Okay, random walk, or what they call drunken walk, okay? Because it's a movement, okay? You got a straight walk and a drunken walk. We know when they do the drunk test, when they say do the sobriety test, you have to walk what? A straight line, right? If you don't walk a straight line, it's a crooked line or a swervy line, okay? That's why it's called a drunken walk, all right? We refer to it as a random walk based upon the scientific understanding of it, okay? Let's look. Random walk.
In mathematics, a random walk, sometimes known as a drunkard's walk, is a random process that describes a path that consists of a succession of random steps on some mathematical space.
Read it again.
In mathematics, a random walk, sometimes known as drunkard's walk, is a random process that describes a path that consists of a succession of random steps on some mathematical space.
Okay, so a random walk or a drunken walk is a random process to describe a path, right, from one place to another based upon steps being taken. All right? Based upon steps being taken, and that's based upon diffusion. Diffusion is the change of a concentration gradient from one place to another, all right, based upon the material that's being changed, all right? Very important for you to understand that. In this case, we're talking about the material of the earth, the material of the earth, because we're talking about the composition of the earth, starting from the original foundation of how the earth was created, which by what they say was by what? Accretion. The formation of the planet Earth is created by accretion. All right? And we know accretion formed the Earth into a circumstellar disk, which is a flat disk. All right? And that flat disk constantly kept changing over time. Okay? Through space and time, it kept changing. So let's get to where we need to go. All right. So we understand accretion. The accretion disk, which is based upon diffused material, which is called diffused reflection, which results in diffusion, which is the chemical potential of the material that's being diffused by what we call phase transition through a random walk or a drunken walk, okay? Or which is called a quantum cloud, okay? A quantum cloud. No one ever heard of that term, quantum cloud, right? Let's look at it. Read that, Archbishop.
The Quantum Cloud is a contemporary sculpture designed by Anthony Gormley, located next to the O2 in London. The sculpture was commissioned for the site and was completed in 1999. At 30 meters, 98 feet high, it is Gormley's tallest sculpture to date, taller than the Angel of the North. It is constructed from a collection of tetrahedral units made from 1.5 meters or 4 foot 11-inch long sections of steel. The steel sections were arranged using a computer model with a random walk algorithm starting from points on the surface of an enlarged figure based on Gormley's body that forms a residual outline at the center of the sculpture.
Okay, now look at this model. What you see inside this model?
A human.
A human. Now we say random walk was based upon diffusion, and we know diffusion is a concentration of gradient from one higher concentration of gradient from one place, from a higher place to a lower place, which results in what they call diffused material. And that's how the planet was created through what we call accretion. All right? It's very important for you to understand that, all right? Because it's based upon what they said, a quantum cloud, okay? A quantum cloud, which you're reading now. And this was created by a guy, a sculptor, Anthony Gormley. Let's go to the other article by him. Anthony Gormley, read this article, Quantum Cloud, 1999, 2009.
It says quantum clouds. How can you convey the fact that the presence of somebody is greater or different from their appearance? The domains allowed me to evoke the eternal space of the body as a field, but are still bound by an invisible skin. I wanted to extend or ignore the skin. The quantum clouds continue the matrix of the domains into outer space due to the continuation of the branching connections, positioning the original body field within a wider field. The interdependency of the skin summons active involvement of the projection and finding force in the eye of the beholder. It is an open question in the quantum clouds whether the body is emerging from a chaotic energy field or the field from the body.
Get out. All right, and this is, once again, quantum cloud. Everybody take a good look at this picture, because this is actually what's going on inside yourself. All right. It's called a random walk or a drunken walk. Okay. As a result of self-diffusion. Self-diffusion that's happening on a molecular level. A molecular level through what they call molecular diffusion or atom diffusion of a change of molecules, atoms, ions, or energy from a higher concentration to a lower concentration, just based upon thought. Okay, and how you know that is based upon what you take in, based off of your comprehension. Why am I telling you this? Let's see why. There's a reason for it. All right, there's a reason for it. We know that planet Earth, as well as the universe, was based upon accretion. Once again, accretion. And it formed into what we call an accretion disk by way of diffused material, all right, which caused the chemical potential, which caused the phase transition, which they call a random walk, okay? So not just the planet is having a random walk, not just every organism on the planet is having a random walk, but all life forms are having a random walk, okay? It's very important because the changes in the energy, all right? The changes in the energy from one state to another. It's called a phase transition. So you are going through a transition because you are the ones who created the phases that everything else is going through. You're the ones that created. You just forgot it. Okay? You just forgot it. All right? So let's understand who we are based upon what we created, which was the planet Earth. Okay? That we're assumed to be existing on based off the sensory perception, which is not a conscious perception. As I say again, a sensory perception, which is not a conscious perception, because our perception is that we are made of matter. Okay? We are made of matter and not energy, and that's the wrong perception. All right? How we know that? Let's go back to the age of the earth. All right? Let's go back to the age of the earth. Right? Geological history of the earth. It says that the geological history of the earth follows the major geological events in Earth's past based on geological time scale, a system of chronological measurement based on the study of the planet rocks layers known as stratigraphy. Earth formed about 4.5 billion years ago from a accretion from a solar nebula, which is a molecular cloud, okay, of ionic gas called plasma, okay, called plasma, and a dish-shaped mass of dust and gas left over from the formation of the sun, which also created the rest of the solar system, which was all created by way of the gravitational collapse of a supernova, okay? It didn't say supernova, it said a solar nebula. All right. So it's very important to understand the terms that are being stated here. You agree, Archbishop?
Agreed.
Okay. Move on down. Let's move down.
I got about 15 more minutes, King.
Where you got to go?
Yeah, I got to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning for work.
All
I've
right.
been up since 5 already.
Not a problem. We still gonna be going on. So we understand that the geological history of the Earth started 4.5 billion years ago from a collapsed solar nebula, which is a molecular cloud of what we call energy. So let's move on down through the stages, all right, of the Earth to the Precambrian age. Read this first Precambrian age.
Says the Precambrian includes approximately 90% of geologic time. It extends from 4.6 billion years ago to the beginning of the Cambrian period, about 539 MA. It includes the first three of the four eons of Earth's prehistory, the Hadean, Archean, and the Proterozoic, and precedes the Phanerozoic eon.
Okay, so it said it includes the first three of the four eons of Earth's prehistory, the Hadean, Arcadian, and Proterozoic, and precedes the Phanerozoic eon. It's very important because we know the Arcadian goes back to what we call the eukaryotes and the prokaryotes. Okay, and we know the prokaryotes is a single cell organism that passes genetic material onto the eukaryotes, which is through what we call horizontal gene transfer. Horizontal gene transfer, contrast to vertical gene transfer, which is through mitochondrial DNA. We talked about that in our last class. So we talked about the Precambrian age, which existed and started about 4.6 billion years ago. All right, very important. This is when you get Arcadian, Proterozoic, and Hadean, which precedes the Phanerozoic. So let's go to the Phanerozoic eon. Let's go there. Skip all this. Start right here.
The Phanerozoic eon is the current eon in the geologic timescale. It covers roughly 539 million years. During this period, continents drifted apart, but eventually collected into a single landmass known as Pangea. before splitting again into the current continental landmasses.
Read that again.
The Phanerozoic eon is the current eon in the geologic time scale. It covers roughly 539 million years. During this period, continents drifted apart, but eventually collected to a single landmass known as Pangea before splitting again into the current continental landmasses.
So we see the Phanerozoic times where the land masses were separated, right? And then they drifted it and became collected into a single landmass known as Pangea. Didn't it just say that?
Mm-hmm.
It said it collected into a single landmass known as Pangea. Prior to that, there was known as 3 supercontinents. All right? 3 supercontinents. And since the Paleozoic era divided into 3 eras known as the Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. So let's look at that. Right here.
Says the Carboniferous was a time of active mountain building as the supercontinent Pangea came together. The southern continents remained tied together in the supercontinent Gondwana, which collided with North America, Europe, Laurussia, along the present line of eastern North America. This continental collision resulted in the Hercynian orogeny in Europe and the Alleghenian orogeny in North America. It also extended the newly uplifted Appalachians southwestward as the Ouachita Mountains.
All right, stop right there. So it says the Carboniferous was a time of active mountain building. As the supercontinent Pangea came together, the southern continents remained tied together in the supercontinent Gondwana, which collided with North America, which was another supercontinent called Lower Russia or Euramerica, along the present line of eastern North America. All right? It's very important for you to understand that in regards to how the landmass came together as a Pangea. Okay? Just look up Pangea. All right, Pitcher, how much time you said you got?
I'll try to go as long as I can.
All right.
Pangea.
So remember, before the continents became together, there were 3 supercontinents. All right? 3 supercontinents. Let's look at them.
Pangea was a supercontinent that existed during the late Paleozoic and early Mesozoic eras. It assembled from the earlier continental units of Gondwana, Euramerica, and Siberia during the Carboniferous approximately 335 million years ago and began to break apart about 200 million years ago at the end of the Triassic and the beginning of the Jurassic.
You hear that? Did y'all hear that? So it assembled from the earlier continental units of Gondwana, Euramerica, known as Lower Russia, and Siberia during the Carboniferous approximately 335 million years ago, and began to break apart about 200 million years ago, and ended in the Triassic and beginning of the Jurassic. We know Jurassic era deals with what time? The dinosaurs. Okay? The dinosaurs. It's very important to understand that if you don't, then you got a problem. All right? You got a problem. So we talk about Pangea, all right? When the Earth collided together, okay? Then broke apart again, which results in what the continents exist today. And they're still changing, okay? So we know that prior to Pangea, there were 3 supercontinents, Gondwana, Euramerica, and Siberia during the Carboniferous era. Let's go back there on the geological history concerning the Earth. Starting from the accretion, which we know was nothing more than the collection of gas and dust, which formed our planet, what we call Earth today. All right? We must understand that. Start back here from Carboniferous, since we're talking about Carboniferous.
All right. The Carboniferous was a time of active mountain building as the supercontinent Pangea came together. The southern continents remained tied together in the supercontinent Gondwana, which collided with North America, Europe, Laurussia, along the present line of eastern North America. This continental collision resulted in a Hercynian orogeny in Europe and the Alleghenian orogeny in North America. It also extended the newly uplifted Appalachians southwestward as the Ouachita Mountains.
Okay, so this is where your mountains start to form. Okay, we're talking about before the Precambrian era, there were three supercontinents: Siberia, Gondwana, and what they call the Russia. It's very, very, very important that you understand that. All right, very important that you understand that, because now we know that they came together when there were three separate continents: Siberia, Russia, and Gondwana. Now they're gonna come together. All right, through the what they said the kind of the what was that, Carboniferous, what would they call it,
Carboniferous.
Carboniferous era. Okay, so let's look at it. A carboniferous, and notice they talk about Mississippi period and Pennsylvania period. You see that, Archbishop?
Mm-hmm.
They talking about over here. Mississippi's over here and Pennsylvania's over here, and they going all the way back to the Triassic era in regards to the three continents, three supercontinents colliding and creating what they call Pangea. Okay? Pangea. Hold on for a minute. Sorry about that. All right. Let's scroll down a little bit further. Now we talked about Pac-Man. Okay? We talked about Pac-Man. We know we read Pac-Man. It was a maze, all right? A maze of how to move to the next level. Sounds the TNO map. Yeah, but the TNO map is vague compared to this one. Okay? It's vague compared to this one. Right here. Start from here, Archbishop.
The Triassic period extends from 252 extends from 252.17 to 201.3 MA. During the Triassic, almost all the Earth's landmass was concentrated into a single supercontinent centered more or less on the equator called Pangea, all the land. This took the form of a giant Pac-Man, but in the east-facing mouth constituting the Tethys Seas, a vast gulf that opened farther westward in the mid-Triassic at the expense of the shrinking Paleo-Tethys Ocean, an ocean that existed during the Paleozoic.
Okay, so they said they call this the Pac-Man, or the giant Pac-Man, that consists of Russia and Gondwana. Okay? Y'all see right here. Russia and Gondwana. All right, let's see here. Read the next paragraph.
Said the remainder was the world ocean, known as the Panthalassa, or the sea. All the deep ocean sediments laid down during the Triassic have
sorry about that.
Have disappeared through subduction of oceanic plates. Thus, very little was known of the Triassic open ocean. The supercontinent Pangea was rifting during the Triassic, especially late in the period, but had not yet separated. The first non-marine sediments in the rift that marks the initial breakup of Pangea, which separated New Jersey from Morocco, are of late Triassic age in the U.S. These thick sediments comprise the Newark Supergroup.
Read that paragraph again.
The remainder was the world ocean known as Panthalassa, or the sea. All the deep ocean sediments laid down during the Triassic have disappeared through subduction of oceanic plates. Thus, very little was known of the Triassic open ocean. The supercontinent Pangea was rifting during the Triassic, especially late in the period, but had not yet separated. The first non-marine sediments in the rift that marks the initial breakup of Pangea, which separated New Jersey from Morocco, are of late Triassic age in the U.S. These thick sediments comprise the Newark Supergroup.
Okay, so it said right here, back in the Triassic period, the first significant proof of the separation and breakage of Pangea was the separation of New Jersey and Morocco. Did y'all hear that? New Jersey and Morocco was not even, the term New Jersey and Morocco never existed at that time in the Triassic period. But yet the breakage of Pangea was through New Jersey and Morocco. All right? It's very important because we understand that the first signs of life in regard to evolution originated here in what we call North America. Okay? And North America was a part of what we call La Russia.
The Russia.
Let's blow it up. All right? La Russia versus Gondwana. Okay? How we know that? Let's go back to the evidence. What did it say? Pentazoic. The Phanerozoic eon and the current eon is the geological timescale. It covered roughly 539 million years. During this period, continents drifted apart, but eventually collected into a single landmass known as Pangea before splitting again in the current continental landmass. When it split again, it split in New Jersey and Morocco. Did you hear that? New Jersey and Morocco. Let's look at it from the geological standpoint of North America versus the Earth. All right? Because we looked at the geological history of the Earth, and that's what they said, New Jersey and Morocco. Let's go back there to prove it. The first non-marine settlement in the rift that marks the initial breakup of Pangea, which separated. Why did they focus on two specific, one state and one country? Right, so one state, Morocco is a country, right? Mm-hmm. Morocco is a country. So they compare separation of New Jersey from Morocco, going all the way back to the Triassic age. How? All right, to the Jurassic age. It says because of the limited shoreline of one supercontinent mass, Triassic marine deposits are globally relatively rare, despite their prominence in Western Europe, where the Triassic was first studied. In North America, for example, marine deposits are limited to a few exposures in the West. All right, so we see that New Jersey and Morocco was split as a result of the breaking of the Pangea. All right, so let's go to the geological study, not of the Earth, but the geological study of North America to qualify it even more.
The geological history of North America comprises the history of geological occurrences and emergence of life in North America during the interval of time spanning from the formation of the Earth through to the emergence of humanity and the start of prehistory. At the start of the Paleozoic era, which is now North America, was actually in the Southern Hemisphere. Marine life flourished in the country's many seas, although terrestrial life had not yet evolved. During the later part of the Paleozoic, seas were largely replaced by swamps, home to amphibians and early reptiles. When the continents had assembled into Pangea, drier conditions prevailed. The evolutionary precursors to mammals dominated the country until a mass extinction event ended their reign.
Okay, so it said when the continents had assembled into a Pangea, dry conditions prevailed. The evolution precursor to mammals dominated the country until mass extinction events entered their reign. Okay, read this next paragraph. We can move forward. No, matter of fact, you don't have to read that. Let's see. So we know the Precambrian age, the oldest known eukaryotic lived about 1.5 billion years ago. All right, which we already know that. All right, so it's very important that we understand how important it is to understand the Earth and the Earth formation, all right? Because we know the Earth was formed 4.6 billion years ago, along with the other planets, as a result of it being part of the solar system, which resulted from what we call a solar nebula, all right? A solar nebula, and we know that that resulted from what we call a crescent, all right? A crescent as a result of the diffusion of the material. Very important to understand that as a result of the diffusion of the material. And the diffusion of material is a change of what? Energy, which is molecules, iron, and gas from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Very important for you to understand that in lieu of our closing. All right. Because we understand that all this is based upon intake. All right. All this is based off intake, which is called uh what we call neural oscillation, because we know transduction, right? Transduction is the converting of that energy or message into what we call neural stimulation, or what we call what they call neuroreceptors or receptor cells, and convert that message or energy into a stimuli, which creates an electrical signal. Okay, as electrical signal, which you interpret through your five faculties through that neurosensory, which is called taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing. Okay, very important. So let's do that real quick, which is known as transduction. Because there's only two ways to review this lesson. All right. So once again, transduction, in physicality, transduction is the translation of arriving stimulus. All right. So what you're translating is that energy, which is a message from the origin where it came from, which is supposed to be from the originator. Okay. And we know that's what we call signals that come from energy. All right. Due to fusion. Okay. The higher energy, we know energy is called dark energy, dark energy, which is called ether. That's the signal we should be interpreting. Okay, because this is what we're going to return to. So it says physical transduction is the translation of arriving stimulus into an action potential. Okay, by way of the chemical potential. Action potential and chemical potential are the same way. And chemical potential comes from diffusion. And diffusion is the change from the concentration gradient from higher concentration to a lower concentration. And the only way that can do is from interpreting the messages that come from the higher concentration to a lower concentration, which is the physical body. Okay? So in physical transduction, it's the translation of arriving stimulus into an action potential by a sensory receptor and begins with stimulus changes in the membrane potential of a receptor cell. Let's just define that a little bit more so we can understand it. A receptor cell converts the energy in a stimulus into an electrical signal. Receptors are broadly split into two main categories, internal and external. Once again, internal and external. Okay, it's very important. So the internal is your conscious receptor cells, all right, versus the external receptor cells is your visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, and somatic sensory system. Okay, we're not using that one because that depends on what we call neural oscillation. All right, neural oscillation is what we have, which deals with what we call brain waves. Okay, not mental waves, brain waves. Okay, we must understand when we're trying to make sense of the information that we're receiving through transduction, which is translation of incoming signals. All right, incoming parts of incoming energy, which are messages, and converting that incoming message or that incoming energy or message into a stimuli through what we call the sensory nervous system or the mental system, one of the two, and to a chemical signal. All right. So it's very important to understand that. All right. So let's look at that in closing. We know the universe is composed of what? 69.3% of dark energy, right? It's also composed of what it says, 26.8% of dark matter and only 4.9% of dark matter. And regular matter or baryonic matter. So what is baryonic? Okay, very important to understand what is baryonic, because in the universe it's only 4%. All right, in the universe, but we have 99% here on Earth. So what is baryonic? Let's look at it. You still with me, Archbishop?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, I'm my man hanging on. Baryonic matter. Let's look at this, because we know it's only 4%, 0.9% in the universe. There's 69.3% of dark energy, and dark energy is what we call ether or antimatter. Okay, antimatter. We know antimatter is ether because ether permeates space by way of vacuum, which is void, empty. All right, we must understand that where light can travel through, that's called a medium. Okay, a vacuum is a medium. Okay, where energy can travel through. Okay, so we understand that baryonic matter, all right, it's very important to understand, because baryonic matter and baryonic oscillation is different from neural oscillation, which we receive through our receptor cells, which is how we interpret the message, all right, which is wrong, because the sensory receptors or the nerve receptors through sensory perception is wrong. Okay, we must use our conscious perception through baryonic oscillation, which is a result of baryonic matter, which is composed of all things that has matter or mass or volume. Let's look at it. All right, read baryonic matter.
Baryonic matter. Nearly all matter that may be encountered or experienced in everyday life is baryonic matter, which includes atoms of any sort and provides them with the property of mass. Non-baryonic matter, as implied by the name, is any sort of matter that is not composed primarily of baryons. This might include neutrinos and free electrons, dark matter, supersymmetric particles, axions, and black holes.
Did y'all hear that? So non-baryonic matter is that which consists of dark matter and dark energy, contrast to baryonic matter, which is that which is composed of matter. Okay, of matter. We're not, even though we're composed of matter, that's not our true existence. Our true existence is ether. And the only way we can understand that is through baryonic oscillation and not by what we call neural oscillation. Okay? Because that's how we've been interpreted from this point, from neural oscillation, which is called brain waves, which is acts upon our what they call our sensory perceptors through transduction. And transduction is the interpretation of that energy or message, but you're not supposed to be interpreting the message or energy through your neural receptors or sensory receptors, or what they call what's the other term? Neurosensory. Okay, very important. We must not interpret it that way. So let's look up neural oscillation, and baryonic oscillation, because baryonic matter is everything that composed of matter, right? We are composed of matter. Let's see. What is matter? In closing.
In classical physics and general chemistry, matter is any substance that has mass and takes up space by having volume.
Read that again.
In classical physics and general chemistry, matter is any substance that has mass and takes up space by having volume.
Okay, so matter is anything that takes up space that has mass or volume. Okay, very important. Non-baryonics is that which does not have mass or matter or takes up space. You hear that? Everybody must understand that, because that's your true state. And you must understand that, not based off your neural oscillation, but baryonic oscillation, because baryonic deals with all things that has mass versus antimatter. So in order to get the antimatter, you must understand matter, because matter is baryonic. Do you agree with me, Archbishop?
Agreed.
It just said it. In classical physics and general chemistry, matter is a substance that has mass and takes up space and have volume. So we understand that diffusion, right, relative, is the diffusion of material. And we know diffusion is, in self-diffusion, is done on a molecular level, on an atomic level, because diffusion is a change of the concentration of gradient from a higher concentration to a lot lower concentration. Okay? Anything above zero energy has mass. Anything below zero energy does not have mass, but made of matter, antimatter. Y'all better understand what I'm talking about. Okay? Y'all better understand what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Baryonic genesis. In closing, a couple more minutes, Archbishop. We'll be done. Baryonic genesis.
In physical cosmology, baryogenesis, also known as baryosynthesis, is the physical process that is hypothesized to have taken place during the early universe to produce baryonic asymmetry. Example, the imbalance of matter or baryons and antimatter, antibaryons in the observed universe.
You hear that? An imbalance of baryonic asymmetry, right? And we know baryonic asymmetry is dealing with matter, right? Contrast to non-baryonic, which is called antimatter. Okay, and we know that the universe is composed of what? 69.3% of antimatter. We know the universe is made of matter because matter is everything dealing with space and time. And anything subject to space and time has what? Volume.
That's volume.
Mass, made up what they call matter. Okay? So in order for you to understand your true state as an antimatter or a being of ether, all right, or what we call dark energy, it must come to what we call baryonic oscillation, because we know baryonic deals with matter, right? Contrast to non-baryonic that deals with antimatter. So in order to understand that, you must understand the difference between baryonic acoustic oscillation and neural oscillation, which is how transduction occurs. Because transduction is the translation of energy, or which is the message to a stimuli, all right, a stimulus by way of into electrical signal. So there's only two ways to do that: through neural oscillation and baryonic acoustic oscillation, which is what I'm trying to get you to see right now. Okay? By you listening to this lesson, you're not operating on what we call neural oscillation and lieu of translation of this electrical signal, which is the message, through transduction. All right? You're not doing it by neural oscillation. You're doing it by a baryonic acoustic oscillation, which is the same thing, transduction, conversion of the message or energy into a chemical signal, chemical potential by way of diffusion of the high concentration of atoms, molecules, ions, which is nothing more than energy. Okay? We must understand what's going on. All right? So what is neural oscillation? In closing, one more after this, Archbishop. Neural oscillation, what is that? Point yourself.
Neural oscillations, or brain waves, are rhythmic or repetitive patterns of neural activity in the central nervous system. Neural tissue can generate oscillatory activity in many ways, driven either by mechanisms within individual neurons or by interactions between neurons. In individual neurons, oscillations can appear either as oscillations in membrane potential or as rhythmic patterns of action potentials, which then produce oscillatory. One
second. Yeah, part side. I went up too much. Right here.
Which can produce oscillatory activation of postsynaptic neurons.
Stop right there. Okay. So we know membrane potential can be done by way of a chemical potential. Chemical potential is based off diffusion by way of what we call a random walk or a drunken walk, right? A random walk or a drunken walk is based upon diffusion, which is based upon change of concentration of gradient, which results in what they call, what's the word they use? Phase transition.
Phase transition.
Phase transition. So by understanding this through your baryonic oscillation, it helps you in the transition of the phase transition on a molecular level. Does that make sense, Archbishop? On a molecular level.
Yep, it
That you
makes
can't
sense.
see the change happening, but the change is
The
happening.
change is happening. Yep.
Okay? How we know that? Based upon baryonic oscillation contrast to neural oscillation. And neural oscillation is through transduction, which is the translation of energy, which is the message, by way of converting that energy and message to a neural sensory or neural oscillation to a chemical signal in which your five senses try to interpret it, and the brain has to make sense of what your five senses have received from that electrical signal, contrast or versus the what you call baryonic acoustic oscillation, which we'll look at now in closing. So neural oscillation contrast to baryonic oscillation, because we know baryonic oscillation is based upon matter, the interpretation of matter, and we know baryonic is, or ordinary matter, is only 4% in the universe, and the majority of the energy that's in the universe is 69% of dark energy or dark matter. And we know non-baryonic energy is antimatter. So in order for us to get back to non-baryonic energy, i.e. antimatter, we must listen to the message to what we call baryonic acoustic oscillation, contrast to neural oscillation. Okay? Let's look at it. Baryonic baryonic acoustic oscillation. In the early universe.
All right. The early universe consisted of a hot, dense plasma of electrons and baryons, which include protons and neutrons. Photons, which are light particles traveling in this universe, were essentially trapped, unable to travel for any considerable distance before interacting with the plasma via Thomson scattering.
Read that again. The early universe.
The early universe consisted of a hot, dense plasma of electrons and baryons, which include protons and neutrons.
Stop right there. The early universe consists of hot, dense plasma of electrons and baryons. We know baryons is what? Matter.
Matter.
Things that had volume, mass. All right? Which is called matter. Versus it didn't say non-baryon, it said baryon. Okay? And it's the early universe consists of high, dense plasma. We know plasma is what they call ionic gas, which is created from a molecular class. We know that this solar system was created from a collapsed solar nebula, which is a molecular cloud. Didn't it say that?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So we understand that we must know this information to get back into our true state, not from our neural oscillation, but from baryonic acoustic oscillation. Let's get the first paragraph before I close out. Read the first paragraph.
In cosmology, baryon acoustic oscillations, BAO, are fluctuations in the density of the visible baryonic matter, normal matter of the universe, caused by acoustic density waves in the primordial plasma of the early universe. In the same way that supernovae provide a standard candle for astronomical observations, BOA or BAO matter clustering provides a standard ruler for length scale in cosmology.
That's good. That's good. So it said in cosmology, baryonic acoustic oscillation are fluctuation in density of the visible baryonic matter or ordinary matter, or what they call things that has volume, mass, made of matter. Okay? Made of matter of the universe caused by an acoustic density wave in primordial plasma. We know plasma is called ionic gas, which exists in what we call a molecular cloud that exists in what we call the early universe. In the same way, supernovas provide a standard candle for astronomical observation. And we know a supernova resulted in our universe from a collapsed star. Okay? So we need to understand, as I stop and share my screen, make sure I covered everything. I think I got everything. Okay, so as I close out, we must understand in regards to seeing our true selves based upon the message that we receive, and the message that receiving in lieu of our true self is based off what you receive here today, based off understanding yourself on the molecular level. Because we know on the molecular level, a diffusion process is taking place where the higher energies that we are made of are now by way of diffusion is changing us. Okay, it's changing us by way of us understanding the changes that are taking place, not just within us, but within the planet, because there's nothing more than we call chemical potential, and which is called action potential. So we know through transduction, which is the conversion or the translation of that incoming energy or message by way of converting that energy or message into what we call a stimulation or neural stimulation to electrical signal, either by either your five senses, all right, or the mental sense. And the mental sense is consciousness, okay? Consciousness. If you're not using that, then you use the wrong faculties. And with that, I digress, and I let Archbishop get the closing of remarks.
Once again, brothers and sisters, this was a marvelous lesson by King Clifford Jefferson from the Royal House of Plantagenet. We definitely understand that this is information that going to require those of our higher intelligence to sit down and really understand what was actually being said thus far, because this is what we would like to call the process of your initiation phase, and regarding you transcending back to who you were, going back to the time before the creation of the universe, because you are what was created in the physical manifestation, in which we like to call the human vessel today. Like the king said, we're this transformation is taking place in a at the molecular level, rather you understand that or not. And based off of you being on the drunkard path, is going to take place regardless, but only those who are conscious and aware of it are going to truly benefit on what's actually happening based off of them being able to inherit the earth regarding her going through this change herself. And like the king showed via Pangea, the supercontinents, not only did they separate and separate once, but they came back together multiple times. So even in this case, we can see the planet, we may be separated, but we seem to be going to come back together during the change of the earth that she's taking place with this great expansion that you see seems to be the common norm or the pattern in this universe. So once again, we're going to have to watch this lesson, multiple times to truly, like say, get your RNA and DNA invigorating to the level that it needs to be. So therefore, you can truly see yourself as who you're supposed to be in this day and age. And with that being said, I leave the rest of the outro or the closing to the king. But hopefully, this information was enough for those of you who are going to be, laying it down to really be able to travel to a time that your body can't exist, but your mind can, and truly understand this lesson in its totality. With that
Well
being
said.
I digress.
Well said, Archbishop. And like I said, what's very important about this lesson is that dealing with, as Archbishop said, that there were three supercontinents, Russia, Gondwana, and Siberia. We know that through the Pangea, the first significant break of Pangea was between New Jersey and Morocco, and the name New Jersey Morocco never existed. But prior to the breaking of New Jersey Morocco, which is the breaking of Pangea, that the Earth was separated by three supercontinents, which was called Russia, which was also called Euramerica. Okay, Euramerica. So if the 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica says that the Anglo-Saxon Berbers were the ones who government was called Wittenmont, and the uncoded law of the Magna Carta, then that truly shows you that they were the ones who were here in the Anglosphere, because the Anglosphere or America was a part of Europe before it became a part of Africa. Okay, it was a part of Europe before it became a part of Africa, because it said that when they collided, it created the mountain ranges. The mountain ranges, as a result of what appeared in what they call the Phentozoic era. Phentozoic era. All right, and from the Phentozoic era, where the land collided, then they broke apart again as a result of the kinetic energy that was instilled inside the planet as a result of the state of the planet that goes all the way back to 4.6 billion years ago. Okay, when the Earth starts to cool. All right. So, as Archbishop said, it's going to take you a couple of times to view this lesson to comprehend what this lesson has unfolded. Okay, I understand it because it took me 3 or 4 days to grasp the perception of what the perceived ability of those who grasp perception are supposed to understand. Okay, so it's very, 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 very important to understand on the conscious level your state of existence before the existence of your state that is now. Okay, or else there will be no transition in the phase as told in this lesson. Okay, by way of diffusion. Because once again, diffusion, as our teacher said, results of this random walk or drunken walk. Okay, this random walk or drunken walk, which is a result of diffusion or self-diffusion that's happened on a molecular level or atomic level, which results in a changing of energy from the higher to a lower, which we know the etheric plane is the lowest level of the physical plane, but the highest level of the etheric plane. Okay, and with that, as always, we're going to greet you as we meet you, and that's in peace and love. That love frequency. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you, Archbishop. Thank you, Bishop Searchy from the House of Searchy, as well as all those who were able to attend this wonderful lecture. And with that, we'll greet you. We're